all great internet personality, or all infamous internet personalities have gone through a bout where their supporters are walking around with either actual bodily things from them or facsimiles of it.
It's true.
It's like in public and private, whatever. First, it started with Belle Delphine and her bathwater, gamer girl bathwater, and many such copycats have spurted after that.
Yeah, and we can't fault them.
Exactly, business is business.
Lucrative.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Business is business, and it was bound to cross over into politics at a Trump rally when allegedly Trump supporters started walking around with the JD Vance full family kit, which is allegedly like a bottle containing a goopy white substance. I assume you can guess what it is. That's JD Vance cum.
Yeah, I'm still not sure that it's real. It feels
I have
so
no idea.
Insane that there's no way that it's real. But at the same time, like these images aren't doctored. Like they're people holding these things. Who makes that kind of thing up as like a false flag?
It's not like it's definitely not like an organized thing at the rallies where people are getting together in a grassroots effort to bring JD Vance cum facsimiles to the rally.
Yeah.
But it's like crazy that it's like believable that people are actually doing this.
So the context here is a week ago, there were photos surfacing online of various Republicans at, I believe, an Atlanta rally holding cups that say JD Vance full family kit, and there's a viscous white substance inside of the cup. And I think the idea here is that they're saying JD Vance has the facilities to have kids the quote unquote regular way, whereas Tim Walz had to use IVF or some fertility treatment or whatever.
Weird, crazy thing to just be
insane. But as I said, I'm still not convinced this is a real thing because this seems so fucking insane. Snopes says there's no proof that it's 100% real. They also don't disprove it though. And I'm just left thinking like, okay, why would people do this, right? One option is that it's a sort of liberal false flag thing just to make Republicans look weird. But I feel like people would not just come up with this to do.
That's what I'm saying. That is not in the deepest, darkest depths of my mind. I am not conjuring that. Like there's no way I'm thinking, oh yeah, you know what? Trump was here in Michigan a couple days ago. We should go to the Trump rally and have fake jars of cum on us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's insane.
Well, that's why it's a little bit more believable to me that somebody set up a booth at a Trump rally and had these little kits prepared and we're just handing them out saying like, yeah, JD Vance is a real man. Tim Walz can't even conceive a kid normally.
And it's crazy that that's believable.
It is believable. Like that's the type of shit.
I kind of believe it.
Because you've seen all the crazy shirts that they wear to these things. Like people will sell literally anything at these Trump rallies because it's the type of people to buy that kind of shit. I can believe them paying $1 for a kit like this and taking
like,
pictures with it.
Not even just like at Trump rallies. You go to any like tourist location and look at those fucking t-shirt shops. You got a billion. I saw this one shirt in Mackinac Island that was like Nancy Pelosi riding on the back of a motorcycle with Biden and some fucking slur or something with it. You know what I mean?
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
It's just crazy shit. So it's like, it's not outside the realm of possibility that it was just a natural thing that happened.
Yeah, people go like crazy with political merchandise.
Yeah,
like they go insane, and it's often like unironic. They're doing it earnestly when they do this kind of shit. So I can imagine somebody setting up a booth and selling these things. The Snopes rating on this is just unproven, so they're not saying they found evidence that it's like completely false. I don't know what the explanation is, but it's weird.
Yeah, in the Slate article I found about it, they're talking about like, yeah, I mean, we can't really prove that this is true or not. Weird either way, but also like, it's an interesting microcosm of the political economy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wow.
And it's like we know that there was a Trump rally at that location. Like that's true. Trump was there. Yeah. The pictures have in the background a bunch of other people with Trump flags and Trump merchandise on. So I guess it could be fake in the way that people just, made these things, then went and took pictures and like, I'm a Trump supporter, look how weird I am type shit. But could be real also.
Tim Walz false flag.
And that's a sad commentary on where we are.
It is. And it's the facts of the matter are somebody had these.
Yeah.
Either way, somebody made the JD Vance full family kit with a white viscous liquid in it and took it somewhere where Trump supporters were.
Somebody's mind is dark and twisted, and this might just be reflective of what Republicans are now, and that's scary.
It is scary. It's a harsh reality. Let's win in November. Yeah.
Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. We've got a DNC coded episode
Yes,
for you
do.
this week. We got to talk about the
DNC and then some other news.
Yeah, we got some good stuff about the DNC, some bad stuff, and then later on, I'm guessing just purely bad.
Yeah,
news.
we got some bad stuff. Yeah. We got some updates on the situation that's been going on for the last 10 months. I'm sure you can guess what that is.
But we're gonna go through the news with the same glee and joy and nonchalantness that we always do.
100%. You know us. We're just chill like that.
Yeah. The Harris campaign is full of joy, and we're full of joy. You know what I'm saying? So welcome back to Head in the Office. If you'd like to support the show before we get into the news here, head over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. You can become a patron, get early access to all of our content, be able to watch our episodes ad-free, and listen on as early as Sunday.
Exactly. You got a little taste of it, last week? Mm-hmm. Don't let that slip away.
Yeah, don't.
Don't
it's
let that
fleeting.
slip away, especially after you come back to this one and then you're inundated with 4 advertisements?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I would be inclined to head on over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod.
You could also get some merch at headintheoffice.com. That would also help support the show. Follow us on our social medias. It's all in the description there for you. And the one of the most enduring ways to support the show is to leave a 5-star review on Apple. We read them every week, as we will right here. The first one is by My Review. They say, I love you guys in a totally, definitely not parasocial way. They say, first and foremost, I vehemently condemn Hamas as well as political violence in any capacity. Secondly, I'd down a pint of horse jizz with Tim Walz any day on the rocks. Thank you for all that you guys do. This podcast is radically down to earth and keeps politics palatable. Started listening just a few episodes ago, and I might just join the Sunday supremacist train in the near future. Choo choo.
Is that something that we missed talking about, the Tim Walz horse cum thing?
No, we brought it up a few weeks ago.
We did bring it up. Yeah. Crazy that there are 2 semen-related stories coming out of conservatives.
Like, it's weird.
And the Tim Walz horse cum thing is purely like a right-wing fabrication to try to get back at Democrats for the couch fucker thing.
Yes.
But it was wholly unnatural. Nobody cared about it except the most annoying people on Twitter.
And it wasn't the Democrats that came up with the couch thing.
No, it's the internet.
It was a shit post.
Exactly.
and people ran with it and believed it because it was funny. And then Tim Walz, weeks after it was brought up, or weeks after JD Vance was announced as the guy, then Tim Walz just slyly pointed at it in a speech. Yes. He didn't even say, "Oh, JD Vance fucked the couch." He said, "I can't wait to debate him as long as he's willing to get up off the couch."
Gas, perfect.
Which is it's just a sly little
perfect way to acknowledge the situation for the people who know. If you know, you know.
If you know,
and I think he said something along the line that after that, and then to counter that with, "Well, you love horse cum," insane.
Yeah,
they are fixated on jizz. I can't. It's ridiculous.
They need it.
This next review from iCarbon Copy. Item on my agenda. Foremost, I have to condemn Hamas somewhere on the internet today and every day. I found these 2 good-looking leftist podcasters who wear short shorts in their video-recorded episodes through IG Reels. And
it's hot today.
It's a white boy summer. What can I say? It's been hot in Michigan.
It's 80 degrees. It's about to be 90 on Monday. I'm not happy about it, by the way.
The earth is cooking.
And next week it's supposed to be cooler, so maybe you'll start seeing us in pants. It's about to be winter again. And so cherish the legs as long as you got them.
Yeah, you ever heard of fucking global warming? Yeah, liberal, take that one. Ridiculous.
Fucking got
I'm a 37-year-old homo guy who eye rolls at his generation's alarmist cohorts. These young dudes give a level-headed review and opinion on today's politics. It's great that the generation behind me has a batch of open-minded straight guys who are willing to put aside machismo to think outside their straight white guy box. We'll be joining the Patreon to help these guys for years to come. Model review right there. Model review.
Straight white guy box never confined me. Got nothing to lose by your chains, brother.
Transcending it.
The next one is from Ava L. Sinclair. Relevant and makes me giggle. First and foremost, I condemn hummus and all other condiments. I also condemn all political violence, especially violence committed on the ear. That's big.
Oh, that's
huge. That's huge. Very specific.
I might have to take that one.
Important. This is a great pod for getting re-inspired with politics, adding another silver lining of hope and humor in this election season. Geopolitics are always on point, and the way you guys banter is unmatched.
Easy.
Podcast? I think you mean chill sesh with my hangout bros. I'm trying to develop a parasocial relationship. Is it working? Yes.
It is working.
It's working. Anyway, I'm a Wednesday weenie by force, but a Sunday supremacist arc is in my timeline. Hopefully. Can't wait to see your reactions to the DNC convention speeches. That's today.
That is today.
Ava L.
That's
Sinclair,
right now.
DNC speech reactions are today.
But they won't get it today.
Oh,
They'll
that's
get it
true.
on Wednesday, 3 days from when we're recording this.
Because you've been condemned to being a Wednesday
Condemned
weenie.
to being a Wednesday weenie and condemned to being on a lower rung of this non-parasocial relationship. If you were to upgrade, say, to maybe a $5 tier, you'd be able to get a handwritten note from one of us every 2 months.
Every 2 months, and we got to start thinking about that soon.
Yes, we do. Maybe drop your ideas in the comments.
Yeah, what do you want us to write on them?
Exactly. This next review from Spooply, Brainwashed, HITO, got me registered to vote, 5 stars.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's impact right there.
That's one person that will
That's
now
one
be voting
person.
in this election, I hope.
You know,
getting
it's
registered is
basically
one
like
part.
we have 3 votes.
Ooh, that's yeah. We if we can get everyone registered to vote that isn't, and everyone listens to us on who to vote for, then it's really like we got however many thousands of votes.
That's if we get all of our TikTok followers to register to vote and vote how we tell them to. We have 100,000 votes.
100,000 because we just hit 100K,
Exactly.
baby. Come on,
100,000 out right there. Oh my goodness.
This next review is from Keyboard Smash, I think. Certified Geopolitical Yappers. First off, ICH, in parentheses, I condemn Hamas.
Nice.
We got an acronym for it.
Hell yeah.
ICH,
That's
baby.
how you know we've made it.
Found these guys on TikTok and I'm so grateful my algorithm deemed me worthy of such incredible content. These two articulate the absurdity of our politics, domestic and abroad, so well. They're a ray of sunshine in such a chronically online leftist sphere. Will absolutely support the pod as soon as I can afford my rent. Well, if Comrade Harris gets elected,
Exactly.
not doing anything for rent. So
hopefully the
Chairman
second
Harris.
Chairman Harris gets elected, the home ownership rates just skyrocket and rents have to go down. That'd be
exactly.
great because I'm getting a 3% raise in September and I'm pretty sure my rent's going up 5%.
Oh my God, it's bad.
I need it. This last review by Mikey D2442, great perspective and awesome podcast. First and foremost, I want to unequivocally and vehemently condemn Hamas and political violence.
Yeah.
The constant begging and pleading for reviews has forced me to write this review, but I kind of like it. In all seriousness, I love this podcast as it has become a weekly listen for me. I discovered this podcast through clips on social media, but unfortunately never really went to the full episodes. I'm sorry, Paula Daddies.
What the hell?
I'm saying, man. But after discovering these episodes, it is so refreshing to hear an educated leftist view on current events and political talking points that is both rational, calculated, and informative, but also lighthearted and comedic. As a Midwestern man, me too, right here, and a big fellow Big Ten uni boy, go Lenny, it's so refreshing to see you guys educating and influencing future generations on a path towards a greater future and help better understanding the political landscape. Keep it up, boys.
Wow. Model review. Some
Model
great
review
reviews
right
today.
there. That's what I'm saying. You guys really came through.
When we beg for them, they come through.
I'm glad that you guys heed the call.
Yeah.
This is a great non-parasocial relationship thing we got going on. We got a thing going on.
We do.
We do. What can I say?
Do you ever think, I want to buy my way into heaven?
Always.
I want to buy my way into the good graces of the people that I'm listening to in my ears right now.
That's right.
You can do that if you head over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. And not only will you be supporting the show, not only will you get early access to all of the content that we produce, but you'll also get an ad-free experience
That's
on the
right.
Patreon every Sunday, every time we release an episode.
You'll be able to pull up to the sermon on Sunday, on the Lord's Day, to hear the gospel as it's spoken.
Yeah, no more being late, no more interruptions mid-episode if you're listening to this ad right now.
Exactly.
It's on patreon.com/headintheofficepod. It's one of the best ways to support the show. It's one of the longest enduring ways to support the show.
Help buy a pass from all the sins you've committed. Start coming to church.
Yeah.
And we can get things going.
Yeah, that's only if you head over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. It's in the description. It's there for you. I think it's time to get into the news, though.
I think so.
As August slowly fades into the past, we've nearly completed another summer this in this glorious year of 2024.
That's right.
But even though the season is slowly fading, the leaves are changing. It's going to be starting. It's going to start
Exactly.
getting colder outside soon. Even though all of that's happening, we have to continue our microscopic play-by-play of this year's election cycle.
Our unrelenting march through what is the 2024 election.
We're getting closer to November. It's like 70 days or something like
That's
that.
insane.
Yeah.
Actually, that's crazy because the election's what, November 11th?
November 5th. 5th, I think.
5th.
I don't want to spread voter misinformation.
Yeah,
Look it up, but I think it's the 5th.
Yeah, you guys can't Google whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But we're getting close. And on top of that, the next or the first, I suppose, debate between Harris and Trump is in like 2 weeks from the release of this episode.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
That's actually crazy.
More information on what we'll be doing for the debate on next week's episode. But yeah, pretty exciting.
But we'll be live.
Yeah, we'll be live.
We will be live,
Yeah,
and we will be starting
absolutely.
the live an hour before the debate goes.
And we'll
up.
be making a bingo card. We'll be making predictions. We'll be looking at polling. But we'll talk about all that more next week. We'll give our it'll be our debate pre-show next week, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, because that'll be the only one coming out before. But this week we have to talk about the Democratic National Convention, where we got speeches from a number of different political figures, some lasting for too goddamn long. I don't know how much you watched of it.
I didn't bother to check out the Bill Clinton speech.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. He went on for like 40 minutes or some shit.
40 minutes is crazy.
It's like, brother, you were the president like what, 20-something years ago?
You had your time.
More than 20-something years ago. 30 years ago.
That's ridiculous.
Get out of here, dog.
I damn near thought that 37 minutes for Harris's speech was fucking pushing it. But Bill Clinton, brother, no one cares.
No
one cares. And with that, I did not check out Hillary Clinton's speech either. She lost historically bad. So I don't value a thing she has to say.
Yeah, it really did feel like, and before we even get into this, it really felt like the vestiges or the remnants of the Biden campaign were still in the DNC.
Oh, yeah.
And the DNC was very much geared around Biden still being the candidate, since he only dropped out, about a month before the DNC actually happened.
Everyone had to frantically rewrite their speeches before they started. Oh, my gosh.
So it really does feel like a lot of this was very Biden coded, but we had to work our way through some of the bad speeches, but there were some good ones. Overall, I thought the DNC was pretty decent. No major blunders, except for what we'll talk about in a moment. I feel like they met expectations. It was about what I expected.
Honestly, I will say this year I think the DNC was hyper than the RNC.
Really?
Like, there was more shit going on. Like, there was more excitement surrounding the DNC than the RNC, especially with the candidate speeches.
Yeah.
RNC in 2020, clear wash for Republicans. They had that shit. That was historically wheelchair-bound Madison Cawthorn stood up for Trump.
Stood up.
You're never fucking beating that. You know what I mean? But this year, Trump got on a week after he was almost assassinated and just rambled for like an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
It sucked.
Yeah, the Trump section of the RNC really did suck, but they had some bangers. Vivek Ramaswamy's speech was a standout at the RNC. They had some fun moments, and I'm a sucker for the hog watch.
I am a sucker for the hog
love
watch.
it. But the DNC was pretty good, though.
What is it, Sean O'Brien speech?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Contrasted with the Sean Fain speech at the DNC. Sean Fain speech was crazy.
Yeah, that was gas.
On there
one of the best moments.
And using your speech at the DNC as someone who's not entrenched in like party politics, like say a Kamala Harris is, and using that platform to just directly call somebody out. He directly called out Stellantis for going back on their deal.
That's awesome.
Gas.
Banger
move.
It's like I think Sean Fain did everything except for like call for a proletarian revolution.
Yeah, no,
like
that guy.
The only thing he didn't say was like the bourgeoisie got to be executed.
Chairman Fain.
Yeah,
Chairman Fain right there. He
sick.
fucks.
Some other good speeches were from AOC. I thought hers was pretty good. It was pretty tight too, only 9 minutes, which I really appreciated. Bernie Sanders' speech, of course, was good. Bernie's always pretty good. I thought Walz's speech was one of the best,
Banger.
for sure.
Absolutely.
And I think Kamala Harris's speech also met the moment for what it needed to be.
He really owns being a dude. Just being a guy from the Midwest.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. Damn near exactly what he needs to be. Just a white guy. Just a good white guy.
I appreciated the moment when Tim Walz was like, okay, this is the part you guys should clip.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's for me. You know what I'm saying?
He, unlike Biden, unlike what will be the previous administration, isn't turning his back on the podcasting class.
It's precisely. Yeah, because you guys don't know how much, like, content we sift through, whether we're, like, driving somewhere or listening as we clean the house or whatever. I'm looking for content that we can talk about and listen to on the podcast together. Tim Walz just saying, this is where you clip it. That's helpful.
And it's so helpful. I will sit there and I'll be reading articles and articles and articles and not finding anything meaningful to like bring to the show notes. And the articles they'll talk about like, oh, this person said this. Just give me the video. Give me the video of them saying it. Oh my God.
Yeah. The Biden speech was sort of like a quasi farewell address, although he'll certainly get that like in January or whatever. That shit sucked.
Yeah, I did not care for it at all.
You don't got to be up there. It was night one, and night one's like the least important one because it's still ramping up, and you're trying to get to the climax in day 4.
And it's like you're not the president anymore, buddy. Yeah. Like just accept it, please. Just fade into obscurity.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton's speech was bad too. Boo tomato. Didn't really.
Did you watch it?
I saw parts of it, but it's just like, why is she there? You know what I'm saying? Like, who gets hyped up for Hillary Clinton?
And it's like, she's the one that lost and brought this all on us.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's her. It's her and her people, yeah.
She's kind of the arbiter of what's going on here, and it's like, I kind of hate you for that.
Yeah, didn't she, like, not campaign in Wisconsin or whatever?
She didn't campaign in swing states, because I was listening to Majority Report, and they were talking about how Trump right now is kind of making the mistakes that Hillary made back in 2016. She's not going to swing states. She's just not doing anything to reach the people that she needs to. Trump is going around campaigning in just like solid red states so that he can get money. It's like, brother, probably because he's not paying venues. Yeah. Probably because he can't go back to swing states like bigger venues in Georgia because he refuses to pay them.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton. But the thing with her is, like, I think she did that because she thought she had it in the bag.
It was like mostly hubris with Hillary Clinton.
But Trump, I think it might just be like money issues.
Yeah, because like the prevailing attitude in 2016 was Trump cannot possibly win.
Yes.
Like, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to spend my money. I can just chill.
These sacred halls.
Yeah, nobody would desecrate this sacred institution.
Oprah was there and she gave a speech. I didn't really care though.
Yeah,
I think that was for old people.
That's not for me.
Older people, I think, appreciated the Oprah Winfrey one. There was importantly, and this is one of the major blunders I think of the DNC this year. There was no Palestinian representation at all. Yeah. There were some people like, AOC and Bernie and even Harris at one point gestured towards a ceasefire. They said, people need to be helped in Gaza, basically.
The easiest milquetoast position to take.
I think Kamala Harris did a pretty bad job at articulating that point on Palestine, but there was no Palestinian speaker at all. And the reason I say that is because they had, I think, somebody who has family that were taken hostage on October 7th. They had them speak, but they didn't have somebody who either understands or was a part of or has family that are a part of the situation in Gaza right now.
That's interesting because there was on Friday, like 2 days ago before we're recording this on Sunday, there was a meeting with family members of the hostages who were taken by Hamas on October 7th with Netanyahu. And I don't want to say it didn't go well, but they were pressing Netanyahu, and he's like, oh, I'm recommitting to hostages, and like, you haven't done anything. So it's like they're very much not for what's going on right now. They want their people back. They view the negotiations that are ongoing still, if you can even call them negotiations, as unproductive, to say the least.
And I think the people who have family members that were taken hostage deserve to have their voices platformed.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, they've gone through a terrible thing. Nobody should be taken hostage. But at the same time, 40,000 people have been killed by Israel. And not only did none of the speakers say Israel is killing civilians because, DNC, but the DNC also didn't have anybody from, say, the uncommitted movement, a Palestinian, come and speak in front of the DNC, even though people that were delegates for the uncommitted movement were Democratic Party people.
Yeah.
Like, the uncommitted people were sent there as delegates by Democratic primary voters. So it seems like a major blunder, or I don't know if it was a blunder or if it was intentional.
Well, I think I'd seen somewhere that uncommitted people petitioned for a speaking slot and they were outright denied.
Yeah.
So it's like they unambiguously kind of silenced anything that would go against what I guess Joe Biden would say about this.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
A good look.
As I said, Harris's acceptance speech was pretty good, except for the Israel bit, which I think was just downright terrible for the most part. She had at the start of the part on Gaza, she mentioned that we need a ceasefire, but then she went on to explain how terrible October 7th was, how we need to be Israel's strongest ally, and all that. And then she talked about Palestinian suffering, but of course didn't say that their suffering is the fault of Israel. It was more of like Israelis were killed by Hamas, but Palestinians are just suffering. Who knows who's causing it?
That was the framing. It was Israelis were killed by Hamas and subject to unspeakable sexual violence by Hamas. Yep. That's what she said. Hamas did that on October 7th. And then when she starts talking about and Palestinians in Gaza are going through grave misfortune right now and starvation. I wonder why they're starving. I wonder why they're facing these. I wonder why, polio or something like that is ramping up in the region because they have no access to clean anything. It's like there are reasons why we can say this. And I feel like it wouldn't be that bad to say that maybe it's because Israel's going a little bit too far, but
It's hard
DNC.
it's hard to even imagine that her saying that would like result in some backlash from the party too.
Exactly.
Like she's the nominee. If she wins, she's going to be the president, which puts her in charge of the Democratic Party. Just fucking say it. And it's sad that her, saying what she did say about Palestinians is low-key better than anything Biden has said.
That's kind of what I was thinking
crazy,
too,
right?
because I was surprised that she went so far as to say that Palestinians are starving. And I think she mentioned innocent people are dying, but innocent people are dying is very different than saying civilians are being killed by Israel.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it's when she talks about October 7th, or when really any Democrat talks about October 7th, it's innocent Israelis were killed.
Yes.
But then when they talk about Palestinians and what Israel's doing to Gaza, it's Palestinians are dying.
Yeah, it's not Palestinians are dying because, say, a drone struck the mosque that was inside the school that was turned into a refugee camp, which something actually happened during morning prayers.
Yeah.
They're just dying. And when you frame it like that, there's this certain amount of
you downplay the severity.
And there's a certain amount of casualties that will happen in a conflict no matter what, no matter how just there are. And she's kind of abusing that framing to make it seem like that's what's going on.
Yeah, and it was a good opportunity for the DNC or the Kamala Harris campaign to at least reach a hand across the aisle and say, like, we're going to give you a platform to speak about the issues that you care about. It would have been a good unity moment for the party as we head into this election, especially considering, like, we have a Palestinian member in Congress of the Democratic Party that's from a swing state, Michigan. Yeah. Rashida Tlaib is a Palestinian American. Maybe they didn't want to have her speak because she's been very vocal about being anti-Zionist. But, speak with her or speak with the uncommitted movement, speak with somebody and have a Palestinian American speak.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a good moment of unity for the party.
And I think, especially because Democratic voters have proven that the majority of them want a ceasefire. They want an end to this conflict, right? That's the voters. It's the party apparatus itself that is Zionists. Like, they're the people that want these things to keep going. They're the people that want whatever to keep happening. I don't think if you have a delegate from the uncommitted movement, come up and speak and even call for an arms embargo, that it carries the same way as if Harris did it.
Of course not, right?
I personally, thinking about it, I don't think that Harris can realistically call for an arms embargo. I'm starting to understand why at this moment in time that would be bad. Because Biden is leaning in on these negotiations working. If Harris gets up there, which I think is wrong. I think all of this is wrong. But from how I understand the politics of the situation to be going on, if Harris were to call for an arms embargo right now, then there's no reason for anyone to even pretend that negotiations are happening.
Yeah, because if she's about to win and take over for Biden,
then both parties can stall until the election, and then you would move on from there anyway. You end up kind of with the same outcome as if she doesn't ruffle the feathers right now.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly why you should have had somebody from the uncommitted movement.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You can use those people as mouthpieces to communicate your agenda without attaching yourself to that agenda.
Exactly.
And why aren't we doing that? It's the popular position amongst voters. Come on, bro.
Because American voters right now are taking a very isolationist slant.
Yeah.
And at the moment, Republicans are sort of cynically capturing that by being like hyper anti-Ukraine funding.
Yes.
But we can get some of that vote or get some of that attention by coming out and saying like, yeah, arms embargo on Israel. But again, as you said, if Kamala Harris can't say that for whatever complicated political reason, get people out there that can. Because ultimately, and I've been listening to some interviews with uncommitted delegates, they don't want Donald Trump to win.
No.
But they want to convey what the uncommitted voters want to Kamala Harris and see a course change, not just because they want Donald Trump to lose, but also because a piece of Kamala Harris winning is having these popular policies that Americans are for, which is an arms embargo, a ceasefire, the cessation of hostilities.
And it's like the uncommitted movement is just genuinely handling this how they should.
Yeah, it's good.
They are not being unreasonable in any way, shape, or form. They're not going out there and refusing to talk to these people unless they cede to all their demands. They're playing politics correctly. Yeah. There's no reason you can't at least platform them on night one or something like that. I mean, hell, a bunch of people get up there and speak and say shitty things that would not represent Harris's viewpoint. It's the Democratic National Convention. Yes, of course, the point of this is to kind of pick who's going to be the nominee, but also it represents the party, and there are people within the party who have these opinions.
And the thing that gets me is like, The DNC put a cop up before a Palestinian American?
Yes.
What the fuck? Like, what a cop in uniform on stage before a Palestinian? What are we doing?
Who gets up there and said, crime is down because police funding is up.
Oh my God.
You can say that, but you can't have someone else say, yeah, let's condition aid.
I swear I almost thought it was like the 1996 DNC. I swear Bill Clinton's running for president right now. What the fuck do you mean that we have a cop up there? Dog, 4 years ago, the Democratic Party would have been torn to shreds if they had a cop up there.
Absolutely. It would have been political suicide.
The Republicans got torn apart for being so law and order during 2020 because of the BLM protests. And then 4 short years later, this is what we're doing, and we can't even get a Palestinian up there. I sort of understand the politics of having a cop up there, you know?
Yeah.
The Democrats are trying to take the law and order angle because Trump has, all these legal issues that he's dealing with right now. So I get it. I don't love it, but I understand what they're trying to do.
She's a prosecutor. You can stick with that. You don't need the cop.
Yeah, a cop before a Palestinian American when I think the Palestine issue is something that you really need to patch up within your party.
I think that's more important when it comes to just capturing voters. Anyway, I don't think voters are motivated necessarily by law and order right now. If they're motivated by like a right-wing framing of an issue, it's immigration. And with that, you get the like law and order, you get rampant misinformation about like cash bail reforms or whatnot. But like, I think in Michigan, there was 80 to 100,000 people that came out and voted uncommitted.
It was 100,000.
100,000 people that voted uncommitted in the primary. These are people that have proven to you that they are willing to get out and go to the ballot box, but not unless you cave in some way to their demands.
They came out in an uncompetitive primary.
Yes.
Like, there's nobody else running, nobody serious, Marianne Williamson, whatever. But there was nobody else serious on the ballot. 100,000 people came out in Michigan, a swing state. You got to win if you want to win the Electoral College.
That's a lot of people. Yeah. Margins in Michigan were tight in 2020. Like, you can't afford to lose votes that are so easily pickable.
Especially because turnout's going to be lower this time around, almost certainly. So, yeah, I thought not having any pro-Palestine voice at the DNC in a speaking slot was a pretty major fumble, especially considering Kamala Harris's framing of the issue in her own speech. It would have just been a good idea, and it would have worked at least a little bit to patch up things in the party.
Yeah.
You're always going to have the leftists that just won't vote for the Democrat.
Exactly.
Because, some leftists are I don't know,
pragmatic,
insufferable. You know what I mean?
Insufferable. And that's why I emphasize that the uncommitted movement is not them.
Well, exactly. They're Democratic people. They're people in the party.
A proven electoral force.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were chosen by Democratic voters in the primary back in March, mainly in Michigan, but also elsewhere. They are important. Yeah. They're important to consider, and I don't know why the DNC didn't give them any a speaking slot. They really should have. But anyways, moving on to some other DNC shenanigans, sort of connected to the uncommitted movement. There were pro-Palestine protests outside of the DNC basically every day. As expected, I think they're doing a good thing.
Yes.
Get more attention on the issue, make people feel uncomfortable. There's, of course, tons of videos of people walking in, like covering their ears, trying to not listen to what they were saying.
Wow.
And stuff like that.
My God. How dare you call for a ceasefire? Yeah. How dare you call for war to stop? That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's it's an optics thing. You know what I'm saying? And it was, I think it's good overall to protest the DNC, especially because you had people from the uncommitted movement inside because they were delegates that had to be allowed in. And then you also had protesters outside.
Yeah.
So it was a sort of enduring theme throughout the DNC that there's some discontent within the party, which is good.
Yeah. That's how you put pressure on people.
Exactly. Moving over to some right-wing shenanigans.
Some actual shenanigans. Okay.
So, for some reason, Matt Walsh was at the Democratic National Convention. He put on a wig, he had some pins on, and he wore a White Dudes for Harris t-shirt, and he was walking around the convention handing out Project 2025 postcards, quote unquote, that linked to his promotional page for his new movie called Am I Racist?
Really?
And the funny thing here is it's just a publicity stunt, obviously, but he could have just went in as regular Matt Walsh.
Did he put on a girl wig?
I don't know what he was trying to do. Maybe it's a commentary on gender ambiguity or something. I don't know.
Maybe did he put on a long-haired wig? Did you see the picture?
It's longer than his normal hair.
It's longer than his normal hair.
It's tied up in the back. I think maybe he's supposed to look like a liberal man.
Or maybe he's trying to look like a trans man or something.
He still looks like him though.
Matt Walsh, notorious transphobe. You know what I'm saying? Either way, these guys cannot help themselves from dressing up.
Yeah.
They love to play dress up, and it's actually crazy. In this instance, it's not as crazy as Steven Crowder loving to dress up as a woman to make fun of trans people, but it's what are you doing, dog?
Yeah.
all of these Daily Wire guys cannot help themselves when it comes to this.
And it's like, again, he could have just walked in as himself because Charlie Kirk got in there as Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Like Matt Walsh didn't need to pretend because he's a part of the Daily Wire.
He's not on a blacklist.
Yeah.
He's not media blacklisted from the event.
And the thing is, like, okay, he's walking around handing out these cards that say Project 2025, like learn more about Project 2025 at this QR code. And then people scan it and it takes it to the movie page. You know what I mean?
Like,
and it's supposed to be like a haha, we got the URL type shit. But people are going to scan it, see that it's not what they thought, and turn it off. You're just making them think about Project 2025. Like, what the? It's so fucking stupid.
And then you're just making them associate casually your movie with Project 2025 and your ideas with Project 2025.
It's like you're not getting anybody. You know what I mean?
Something that has been a sleeper message from our covering. The Project 2025 thing really made the leap from the internet to just the national stage in like 2 weeks.
I
was actually shocked.
Yeah.
Like now, my mom texted me about Project 2025 like a couple weeks ago, and I was confused.
Was she like, have you heard about this?
She's like, what is this? And I was like, oh, let me tell you.
It's just, it really goes to show you that every right-wing commentator, especially those of the Daily Wire, are just failed theater kids.
Yes.
They wanted to be in Hollywood so bad. And they just
love making shitty movies.
Literally all of them. Michael Knowles, failed theater kid.
Yes.
Ben Shapiro, failed scriptwriter.
Yep.
Steven Crowder, not at the Daily Wire, but was also a voice actor.
He was a creative something major in college,
Yeah.
too. Like, he was a liberal arts major.
The Daily Wire makes movies that are really bad.
Yeah.
But they want to be Hollywood so bad. They couldn't cut it. And then they went to the right-wing grift to make money. Speaking of Charlie Kirk, he was also at the convention for some reason, and he got obliterated by a liberal white guy. Did you see this?
Yes, I did.
That was a
good.
crazy little clip.
That was good. And he just called them weird to walk away. So, my God, so perfect. The Tim Walz weird messaging, generational.
Yeah. It was the guy who I think an Atlanta rally was dancing to, there's this viral video of him dancing to Not Like Us before Kamala Harris came out. There was the Go White Boy Go viral video,
yeah.
so that was a funny little connection. Small world, I guess. As we mentioned, DNC had a sheriff on stage. Not any sheriff, though. Genesee County Sheriff.
That's right. Sheriff Swanson, baby. Come
upsetting.
on now.
Also, in just to end off on the DNC stuff before we go on and talk about RFK dropping out, because that was the other big thing this week.
Yeah.
I do want to mention that people keep saying that Kamala Harris is the vice president right now, so why hasn't she done any of the things that she's proposing to do while on the campaign trail? This is a sort of enduring narrative. Brother, she's the VP.
Yeah, everybody knows they don't do anything.
Republicans know the VP doesn't do anything. Everyone knows the VP doesn't do anything.
The VP is literally just there in case somebody dies.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they're there for. That's it. Unless you're Dick Cheney, you're not running shit.
And like we obviously Kamala Harris herself can't say this because we need to keep up this sort of air of this position actually matters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we know that the VP doesn't actually do anything. And I feel like the question of why didn't they just do this already applies more to Donald Trump, who was already the president.
Exactly.
Like, why didn't he already do the things that he's running on? Why didn't he complete all of his promises when he was in office for 4 years? He didn't do any of that shit. But instead, we got to deal with this narrative of, well, Kamala Harris is vice president right now. Why doesn't she implement her plan to, I don't know, give $25,000 off for first-time home buyers on a down payment? It's like, she's the vice president.
And also, it's so fundamentally annoying because the only people that actually fall for this kind of messaging and this kind of framing are median voters derogatory. You know what I mean? It's like everybody who actually seriously pays attention understands why things aren't getting done right now, why they are messaging about the future. Honestly, whether it's Trump or Kamala when it comes to their agenda, you know what I mean? Every time an election comes around, you have a flip in the Senate, usually. You have a flip in one chamber. You need the legislature. You need to be able to pass bills. The president just can't do whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's such a frustrating thing to try to talk to.
I saw this talking point repeated by Jesse Waters, who was at the DNC doing his, Fox News.
Yeah.
He had like a suite there or whatever. He actually had fucking John Favreau from Pod Save America on for some reason. And he asked him, like, why didn't Kamala Harris do any of the stuff she's talking about right now as vice president? And bro didn't respond with she's just VP, but that should be the answer.
Yeah.
She's the vice president. They don't do anything. They're not in control of the agenda.
They don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
They're just there in case somebody dies.
Yeah.
That's what they exist to do, and break ties.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's literally all the vice president does. And I feel like that people should start responding with that. Why didn't Kamala Harris do X, Y, and Z? Why didn't she, I don't know, what's one of her policies? Take taxes off of tipped wages, because she can't. She's the VP.
It's not in her powers.
It's not up to her.
Golly, man.
In other news, RFK Jr. has officially suspended his campaign for president, and immediately after dropping out,
He endorsed Biden, right?
he endorsed Donald Trump.
Oh my God! What? He's a Kennedy
And showed up Cortez rally in Arizona.
But he's a Kennedy. Remember when everyone said he was gonna spoiler for the Democrats because of the name recognition? How can he endorse Trump? What's going on?
Well, I have some quotes from the NPR story here, and maybe it can give us a hint why Kennedy is endorsing Trump rather than Kamala Harris.
Okay.
It says, quote, speaking in Phoenix on Friday, Kennedy said in an honest system, he believed he would win the election and railed against the media and the Democratic Party for perceived slights against his campaign. Continuing, saying he believed he would win is so funny. Because it's like, dog, you maxed out at like 18%.
I'm saying, and it's like, what do you mean honest system? Like, what is dishonest about the system unless you're just, I don't believe that he's fully adopting Trump rigged election framing. Like, it's got to be something about polling and how he wasn't allowed on the debate stage.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I feel like maybe he would. No, I think he was polling too low now. He was at like 4% when he dropped out.
Yeah.
He'd been precipitously falling off. Continuing on in the story, though, quote, Kennedy said he and Trump have spoken in recent weeks and said that while he disagrees with Trump on several issues, they agree on certain important things like the war in Ukraine, alleged censorship, and childhood safety. He also indicated that the two of them have discussed a possible role for Kennedy going forward. So that's what it is.
That's crazy.
Trump gave him a job. Trump offered him a position so that he would drop out.
And in recent weeks tells me as soon as Biden dropped out, they started talking.
Yes,
as soon as Biden dropped out of the race and he realized he wasn't going to be facing the only guy that he could win against. Really, he's like, I gotta figure something out.
Yeah, it was that, and I think also it started becoming obvious that RFK was only pulling from Trump's base after Biden dropped out.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like,
I'm pretty sure that's when those analyses actually started coming out.
Yeah,
I don't know why people believe that RFK was ever pulling from liberals. Like, I don't get it.
Maybe just because the Kennedy name, like very early on, like January.
Yeah, that's something that I believed when things first started. But we've been saying for months that that's not what's going on.
Especially as like every 2 weeks is some insane news story about him like drinking the blood of some. Yeah.
He barbecued a dog. He thought that COVID-19 was bioengineered to be so that Ashkenazi Jews were immune.
Yeah, he admitted to doing sexual assault and said, well, there might be more skeletons in my closet.
Yeah.
Like, come on, brother. You think you're winning Democrats with that? That's actually fucking insane.
And now with them linking up, Trump just got access to another billionaire donor, Shanahan.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that like immediately proved to me that he was not left-wing in any ways. Like he picked a Silicon Valley tech billionaire.
Yes.
As a running mate. But of course, as soon as it became obvious that RFK was pulling from Trump, and as soon as Biden dropped out, Trump promised him a job. Paid him to drop out, basically, which is illegal.
Yeah.
But isn't going to be treated as that, of course. None of this was about Kennedy's principles as a Democrat. It wasn't about him actually being concerned about any real issues, especially because he was funded by the GOP the entire time.
Yeah.
He was getting money from GOP donors. Like back in April, I think we reported on him getting like a surge of money from the GOP. I think Steve Bannon on his podcast was talking about like, oh, Kennedy's a useful asset for the Trump campaign.
Like how did people I understand that the median voter's mind is just an abysmal dark place.
Yeah.
But how did people whose job it is to track these trends think that this was working out to spoil Biden? Yeah. I don't understand. Political strategist, just fake job. Fake job. I'm back on that position.
Yeah, and like RFK, if Biden had stayed in, RFK would have gotten maybe like 6% of the vote total.
Yes.
And I think he would have still pulled from Donald Trump in the end. Like even I think Biden's people would have coalesced around him. Maybe Trump still would have won. You know what I mean? But I don't think RFK was any serious issue. Maybe at the beginning, but once all the insane shit started coming out and all RFK does is anti-vax shit.
Talking about policy.
Yeah.
It started coming out because every single policy he had was either just a little bit less than Trump or batshit insane.
Yeah.
And if I'm a GOP donor, if I'm any type of donor, I'm pissed when I go on debate night and not only is he not there, if I'm giving millions of dollars to this guy's super PAC, I'm pissed that one, he's not on the debate stage, and two, his debate is on a private website where he's LARPing as if he is on the debate stage. What are we doing?
He kept getting interrupted by his moderator too.
Yes, and he paid someone to interrupt him so that he could pretend harder. Come on, man.
Yeah. He said, let's turn to Kennedy now. Come on, brother. That's so. I wish we could have got him on a debate stage with Biden and Trump, though. That would have been funny.
And been forced to take him seriously. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now I do want to rant about RFK a little bit because we already know, as we've talked about, that his campaign was just a right-wing attempt to pull from Biden's vote to make it easier for Trump to win. And I think any reasonable person that listens to this podcast would already get that. But there is also a lot of people that are tricked by this sort of quasi or pseudo populism that RFK does.
Yes.
And I feel like now that he's dropping out of the race, and maybe he'll be on Trump's campaign trail, but I think he's largely going to fade into irrelevancy. I think as he drops out now, we should discuss it one last time. Put the nail in the coffin.
And I'm just glad I don't have to go in our TikTok comments anymore and see people earnestly bring up RFK as an alternative. I remember on our video about our debate like highlight reel video, so many people were like, "This is why I'm with RFK. RFK is not with any of that bullshit." Insane.
Yeah,
insane
crazy
position to take.
Now, look, the primary issue with RFK, at least for me, has always been that when he speaks or when he offers policy, he will take these entities that everybody distrusts, like Big Pharma, for example. He'll do a sort of economic populism, although it's usually always just a proxy for like anti-vax conspiracy theories. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He does this sort of economic populism, but then he goes on, especially now, to act like Republicans are better on the issue than Democrats are. The issue with Big Pharma, the problems inherent to Big Pharma in our system are not caused by some like shadowy group operating in the darkness to manipulate the American people and vaccinate your kids. The issues are that the medical industry in this country is ran for profit.
Yeah.
And any honest person would say, like, yeah, the profit-seeking tendencies of these corporations leads them to poison Americans because they can make a buck off of it.
And it's also the GOP, or conservatives in general, well, I guess the people who are in charge of conservative messaging, the conservative elites, do not give a shit about the opioid crisis in any meaningful way like they tell you they do. They care about the opioid crisis only insofar as they can blame it on immigrants. That's literally it. Yeah. That is the only time you ever hear them bringing it up. J.D. Vance himself lied about his own mother's fentanyl addiction, saying that she got it from an immigrant who illegally came across the border when she stole it from the hospital she worked at.
Yeah, and he put that in his book and then later on made a campaign ad lying about it.
Yes. Like, that's insane. Like, that is the only time that conservatives actually give a shit about the opioid crisis, when they can lie.
And you know, again, we can presuppose, even though I think he doesn't deserve this amount of charitability, but let's presuppose that RFK genuinely does care about regulating the power of big pharma corporations, for example, right? If he actually cared about that, then in our two-party system, he would side with the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Because the Democratic Party, for all their faults, they're not perfect, have done far more than the Republicans to actually regulate big pharma. For example, see the $35 cap on insulin that Republicans stopped from applying to everybody in 2022 when they were doing the Inflation Reduction Act. And then also the allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Those are two major policies from the Democratic Party that were voted against by Republicans that regulate big pharma to a heavy extent. They're not perfect. They don't get everything done that we need them to get done. But if RFK actually cared about those issues, he wouldn't then endorse Donald Trump, somebody who has never tried to regulate big pharma before. It's purely a right-wing grift. The only reason he would actually endorse Trump if he cared about these issues is if he was paid to drop out of the race so that he would get a job. That it's the only explanation. Also, consider for just a moment, RFK for most of his life was an environmental lawyer. The GOP doesn't believe that climate change exists.
Yeah.
Why would he endorse anybody from the Republican Party?
Maybe RFK got like a decent amount of support because he's the median voter incarnate.
I hope not. If he's the median voter,
that's what it is.
Oh my God, it's dumb. I think the brainworms were talking for a lot of the campaign.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of his policies are just proxy for vaccine conspiracism or COVID conspiracism.
Maybe the Joe Rogan endorsement's just toxic. Did you see that drama?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan endorsing RFK and conservative. His fan base fucking flipped out on him for it. Oh my God.
And then RFK drops out. Yeah. It's just, I get frustrated when I see people talk about RFK and how he's the actual real progressive option here. He's the only one that actually cares about Americans. It's like, no, all he does is thinly veiled conspiracism. And I don't believe, well, first of all, he was never going to win, but also I don't think he would have done any of the things that he was saying he was going to do.
Yeah, so. And it's also, he does the thinly veiled conspiracism, and then he just does the crazy shit, too.
Yeah,
like,
the crazy shit.
I don't understand how this guy could have ever been taken seriously.
Yeah, he sucks pretty bad. Also, I keep seeing all these posts now that RFK dropped out saying, like, oh, a Trump and Kennedy team up, the deep state and the establishment is so terrified. And it's like, yeah, sure, the establishment is scared of a billionaire and someone from one of the major major political family dynasties in this country.
Yeah, literally a Kennedy.
The establishment right there. The wealth and the political dynasty. Like, that is the establishment.
I don't think you can become much more establishment than a Kennedy or a Clinton.
Yeah, exactly.
You've reached the highest
a Bush?
high.
Maybe a Bush?
Not even a Bush. I'd say they're like second rate.
At this point, sure, yeah.
But like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, no, it's just, it's funny to me when people are like, oh, the establishment's so terrified now. They're going to take down the establishment. Brother, they are the establishment.
Firmly entrenched.
You are deluding yourself if you think Trump and RFK are going to attack the establishment. What have they ever done to attack the establishment?
Yeah, literally. And just bringing it back to Trump in of itself, what did he ever do to actually drain the swamp? That was the huge messaging push in 2016 is I'm going to get in there. I'm an outsider. I'm going to drain the swamp. What did he do to actually do that?
He became a swamp monster.
Yes.
He always was a swamp. He's a billionaire.
He became an eldritch horror.
Yeah.
He could be this old, too old to run for office if you ask me, and still be out here campaigning.
That's the thing is when people like Kennedy, and Trump to an extent, but less so for Trump, when people like Kennedy do their quote-unquote economic populism, when they don't point to capitalism being the issue or profit-seeking tendencies being the issue, and they just point to some like shadowy organization, it's not real materialist analysis.
No, absolutely not.
It's just conspiracism. You just want to replace Big Pharma with whatever the alternative is for you. Because if say he destroyed Big Pharma in this country, some other entity would just take its place and profit off of people's insecurity about their health.
And when you focus your messaging around these like nebulous things that don't actually exist, you can constantly change it. It's not because it's not rooted in any materialist analysis or principles. You can constantly have it move to whatever is convenient for you. It's the same with the opioid crisis. When the GOP calls the opioid crisis the crisis, they're referring to it as this like amorphous blob that they can shape in the form of a Mexican man.
They can mold it to be whatever they want. And I also think when they point to some shadowy organization operating in the dark, it always just leads back to anti-Semitism.
Every single time, yeah.
And I think we have evidence for that with RFK because he did say that COVID was genetically engineered to avoid Ashkenazi Jews.
A quote.
Like, yeah, a quote. Almost verbatim quote. Like, I think we have evidence that he's probably an anti-Semite.
In that same quote, he also said it was engineered to avoid Chinese nationals, right?
I think he said Han Chinese. Yeah,
Han Chinese, like which COVID famously didn't hit China.
It didn't start in China.
COVID famously didn't ravage China or whatnot, but whatever. That's just me. That was years ago.
Now, ultimately, I think RFK dropping out probably helps Trump because he was drawing on Trump's vote. But although at the same time, I think RFK going on to endorse Trump might just like repel more average voters. I don't know what the effect is on the whole.
I don't think anybody who picked up the phone to answer a call about who are you voting for and said RFK in earnest is going to be motivated to vote for Trump. I think they are uniquely motivated to vote for RFK because maybe they have the opinion that so many people do that politician bad, I'm going to go with the guy that's the anti-establishment pick, even though Kennedy, the irony there is palpable. I don't think they're necessarily motivated to actually go out and vote for Trump. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I have no idea what the effect will be. Maybe we'll get polling data to explain it soon, but I don't think RFK dropping out is really a bad thing for Kamala Harris. I think RFK being in the race was probably the best chance Democrats had to win Texas.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think that's a special case, and blue Texas just isn't going to happen anyway, so it's fine. We don't need it.
Ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. This episode of Head in the Office is brought to you by headintheoffice.com.
If you head over to headintheoffice.com, you can support the show by getting in on our brand new merch drop.
And it's a pretty good merch drop, people.
We've got shirts available. We've got hats available. We got all kinds of stuff you can buy. And if you want to support the show and more importantly, rep the show, you can head over to headintheoffice.com and purchase some merch.
Go for it. We got dad caps that are green like money. We got stickers. We got magnets. We got basically anything you could possibly want.
And if you don't get in, I'll be upset.
Me too.
Back to the episode.
Switching gears from like national party politics, it's time to talk about a story that, honestly, not even switching gears too much, vaguely related to what we've talked about. We talked sheriff at the DNC.
Sheriff at the DNC.
You couldn't have got away with that in 2020, and for good reason. There was a massive outcry about police brutality and violence in the wake of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's killing.
Yeah.
I thought that the litigation going on surrounding the Breonna Taylor killing, as controversial as it was, and I think wrong, was done. Apparently it's not. Imagine my surprise when I find out this week that things are still going on and things are still going badly.
Crazy.
So let's fucking get into it. Just a quick refresher on the case, because this did happen 4 years ago. If you aren't if you weren't familiar or it's just kind of rusty in your head, cops not in uniform, in plain clothes and with no body cams, executed a no-knock warrant on Breonna Taylor's apartment in the middle of the night while her and her boyfriend were sleeping. Shortly before the raid, the warrant was changed to a knock and announce, but they did not do that shit. They busted through the door and did not announce themselves. The only people that claim the cops said they were police are the cops themselves,
of course,
and one witness who gave inconsistent accounts about the whole event in general.
See, I don't understand how you could even do a no-knock warrant still.
Insane.
Like, I know we've been through all of this so many times since 2020, but it's still like, first of all, plain clothes it should never be allowed.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
As a police officer,
absolutely not.
But also, like, busting in with a no-knock warrant in plain clothes, it's like
no body cam.
I'm gonna think you're just like a random person trying to kill me.
That's what I'm saying. In the middle of the night.
There's no reason for me to think that you're some like higher authority. You know what I mean?
Fucking with that, thinking that, especially like if they come in, I'm the fucking cops. I'm not going to believe you. You just busted down my door. It's the middle of the night. I just woke up. And with that, keeping that in mind, keeping how you would react to that situation in mind, you hear a loud fucking crash, a battering ram goes through your door, and people bust into your house with guns. What would you do? Thinking they were intruders, because why would he have thought any otherwise?
Just purely escalating the situation.
Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, grabbed his gun and shot at an officer, striking him in the leg. I will remind you, this officer was not in uniform, had nothing on him whatsoever that would identify himself as a police officer, other than his words that he did not say.
Well, yeah, and again, like you said, even if he said the words, it's like, I'm not going to believe you.
Absolutely not.
It's the middle of the night.
It's the middle of the night. You just woke me up out of my slumber. It's not fucking happening, buddy. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's getting active, right? The cops then returned fire and hit Breonna Taylor 6 times, killing her. Just outside of what we're going to talk about here for this case, I just think it's important to note, again, they did not render medical attention to Breonna Taylor at all on scene. I think there were 3 or 4 cops that were there, 3 cops shot, something like that. They went to render medical attention to the cop that was shot in the leg, non-fatally, mind you, didn't do anything to help Breonna Taylor. Her boyfriend had to call the cops. The cops are right there, had to call 911 to bring an ambulance to help her, and they said she's fucking dead. There's nothing we can do. Before they executed their no-knock warrant, they had an ambulance that was stationed nearby leave, breaking police protocol. Like, because I was rereading like a refresher. New York Times published a refresher 2 days ago after the wake of what we will be talking about in a little bit. Just what happened, what's going on, what accountability did the cops face? None. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, that shit, I remember when the ruling came out, that shit was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Hung jury, dismissed case. I think 2 people got fired, 1 retired, and that's it. No legal repercussions whatsoever. An insane and gross miscarriage of justice, just all the way through. Oh my God.
From beginning to end, yeah.
From beginning to end. And again, since all this happened, there's been a litany of controversy surrounding the charges against the cops who were there that night with very, very, very little accountability. I think 1 or 2 people were fired and 1 person retired. Nothing other than that. No charges brought whatsoever. Well, charges brought, no charges convicted.
Yeah, I think the one who got the most serious punishment was the one who hit shots into the wall that was like shooting through the glass that had they were shooting through the blinds. Yeah. Closed blinds. The blinds were closed. It was dark, and he was shooting through the glass.
He shot 10 rounds through the glass.
That one got in trouble for wanton endangerment.
Yes, but the charge didn't stick.
The charge didn't
stick. But that was like the most. Somebody died, and that was the most serious charge. Was wanton endangerment.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
Quite literally getting charged for the shots that didn't hit.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. I remember hearing that line when all this went down. It was like, yeah, well, that's not even an exaggeration.
And the only reason he got charged for that was because he was shooting through an object that you couldn't see through, which is insane. This isn't fucking Rainbow Six Siege. Like, you can't fucking do that. And those bullets landed in the neighboring apartment. They went through the fucking walls and went into somebody else's apartment. Like, you can't. In no universe should you ever be allowed to fucking do that.
Fire?
Like, I don't understand what the fuck, bruh.
I don't understand, like, how. I know the training that cops get isn't rigorous. Like, we know this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well aware.
They don't get rigorous training, but like, how do you like how small does your brain got to be? You got walnut brain in there to think like, yeah, this is a thing that's gonna help.
Yeah, I cannot.
You think they're trying to get like Osama bin Laden the way they're just shooting through glass blindly? Genuinely, what's wrong with you? Other than like, you killed a person, police brutality, discrimination against black people by the police and all that, of course.
Yeah. But this analysis is in the context of that being the one charge that we had hope would get somebody.
Yeah. But genuinely, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
The case is fucking insane.
Yeah.
I can't stress enough, but it gets crazier. It gets even worse because 2 days ago there was an update legally. However, it's just more of the same, right? 2 years ago, Merrick Garland brought federal charges to 2 officers that were involved in allegedly falsifying the justifications used to get the no-knock warrant secured. These were officers that were not there on the scene when Breonna Taylor was fucking murdered and brutalized by the police.
Yeah.
They were the officers that did the thing that allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
Right? It was alleged that one officer drafted a false search warrant application that another officer then approved. The officer that drafted the allegedly false search warrant was also said to have covered up the search warrant's lack of foundation after the killing happened and they were being investigated. Both officers were then accused of lying to federal investigators about the entire situation. So not only did they make up the justification falsely for why they were able to even get a warrant, let alone a no-knock warrant, to search Breonna Taylor's residence. They tried to cover it up after the fact, and they lied to federal investigators about trying to cover that up. That's crazy.
I don't know what other explanation to this there is other than, like, they're just demons. Like, you're just evil.
And after what happened in 2020, I think there was a broader federal investigation into this specific police department that just extensively revealed a fucking history of abuse and discrimination against, I think, disabled people and minorities.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Just a bunch of instances of brutality and just fucking wanton abuse and whatnot. It's in the New York Times article. It'll be linked in the description. You can read through it yourself and figure out. And honestly, just remind yourself how genuinely jarring that this case is.
Yeah.
Because fucking insane.
Gotta wonder, like, okay, we learn about this police department specifically because there was such a high-profile murder.
Such a heinous
by
murder.
the police. Yeah, exactly. You gotta wonder how many other police departments do some insane shit that we just never hear about.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Especially in red states that, like, empower that kind of shit.
Because, like, it only gets national attention when it is so unambiguously just, like, gross and heinous that this was ever even conceivable that it would happen. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Aaron Bushnell. No,
Aaron Bushnell was self-immolation.
That was a different guy. I think his name was Aaron. He was a guy in Phoenix who somebody called the cops on him. White guy in Phoenix, which police brutality just happens. Or maybe I'm getting those details wrong. Either way, white guy at a hotel. Somebody called the cops on him because he, like, had his rifle. The cops show up with AR-15s, make him crawl on the ground, and then shoot him while he's crawling over to them because he needed to pull up his pants because he was fucking scared. The cop who killed him had, like, kill 'em all, had something inappropriate inscribed on his cop-issued AR-15 that he used to kill. Like, you only ever hear about the crazy fucking malicious ones.
Yeah.
I wonder how many morally ambiguous ones just slip through the cracks. You know what I mean? And just another layer of it, it's insane that conservatives even fucking pretend that these are morally ambiguous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so insane that anyone would go and defend George Floyd's killing and Breonna Taylor's killing. Candace Owens especially.
Oh my God, the Candace Owens video was crazy. And I think a thing that right-wingers love to do when we pull up instances of systemic racism in policing, for example, is say, like, well, numerically, more white people are killed by police than black people are, which is, like, true if you look at the raw numbers because there's more white people in the country. But I don't think it, disproportionality is a real thing, of course, to consider. But generally, I don't think that the cop should be in the business of killing really anybody.
I don't think so either.
It should be incredibly rare that a cop takes a life. But it's too common in the U.S. and it's disproportionate against black Americans, of course.
Exactly. Yeah. And then they like to go and say, well, how come Black Lives Matter doesn't march for when police kill a white person? They do. They do. You just don't pay attention, actually. Yeah. So, whatever. I digress, right? The broad charges, all of that, the fucking falsifying the documents to get the no-knock warrant, the broad charge levied by Merrick Garland is the felony charge of that these officers deprive Taylor of her constitutional right to be free of unreasonable searches and seizures resulting in death. Fourth Amendment violation, you know what I'm saying? Textbook shit right there.
That's Bill of Rights, baby.
That's Bill of Rights. That's
Thomas Jefferson.
OG amendments. Not a single person went by living in this country since its inception. That was, a lot of people
These are American liberties designed to protect you from the overreaches of a tyrannical government.
Straight from the founders. Straight from the founders.
From the pen of Tommy J.
John Hancock right there put his signature on this shit. Like, Classic shit.
Tommy J writing the Fourth Amendment. Come on.
You cannot get around it. Unambiguous. That's a good one. That is a good amendment.
I like it.
One of the top amendments, dare I say, right? Protects people. On Thursday, that charge was dismissed by a Kentucky U.S. district judge. He justified the ruling by saying, quote, "The court finds that the warrantless entry was not an actual cause of Taylor's death.
Brother,
the
what?
court also concludes that the death results charge requires proof of proximate cause, and that allegations in this case show that the warrantless entry was not the proximate cause of Taylor's death. And even if it were, Kenneth Walker's decision to open fire is the legal cause of her death, it being a superseding cause." Now, this sent me in a rabbit hole looking for, okay, what's the legal complicated definition of probable cause and whatnot. And I found this Forbes Advisor thing that's talking about it. It says, what is proximal cause? I'm going to read the excerpt from the website.
Yep.
The proximate cause may be different from the actual cause. This is in the context of personal injury lawsuits. It's hard to find them in the context of like specific situations you're looking at, but it is broadly applicable to like criminal law and what we're talking about here. The proximal cause may be different from the actual cause or the same. Proximate cause is also called legal cause. It refers to a primary cause or an incident that set everything in motion.
Okay.
And here, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. And here's an example. If a car that is stopped at a red light enters into an intersection while you're walking across it and it strikes you, the car's movement is the actual cause or cause in fact of the pedestrian crash. But if the car that struck you was rear-ended by a large truck that pulled up behind it, and the truck caused the car to move involuntarily into the intersection, the truck was actually the underlying cause of the incident. Its failure to stop would be the proximate cause of the pedestrian accident. This would then give them liability for what happened. I think it's very reasonable to say that if these cops had not falsified this warrant, falsified the justification to get the warrant and lied about it after the fact, the cops never would have showed up at the apartment. That is the event that set this chain of this chain reaction off. There is no death without that going on. I don't think you can say that Kenneth Walker's completely human and reasonable reaction to regular plainclothes people breaking into his house in the middle of the night, waking them up, and firing a shot because he's fucking scared and literally defending himself.
That's your constitutional right, brother.
That is literally that's why we have the second.
I would bet Kentucky's got stand your ground laws too, right?
Probably.
Or like what's the fucking word for
Castle
it?
Doctrine?
Castle Doctrine, yeah.
Probably something like that. Like a lot of red states have that.
Yeah.
I would not.
And there's
be surprised.
issues with it, but that's his right, brother.
Exactly. Yeah, there are issues with it, but I mean, in this case, that's your second. That's your second. That one's there to protect the other ones, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I would argue that he used his second in this instance in the most pure form that the founders intended. This is a government, a governmental entity that falsified a document to violate the rights of a citizen, damn near a tyrannical government, and he rose against it.
Yeah, that's a patriot right there.
That's fucking patriot.
Spirit of the founders, baby. Come on.
I don't think he should. And his charges were dropped. Why would a man with no criminal record whatsoever feel the need to fire at police officers? Even if he even could fucking fathom that they were cops, why would he have needed to do that? The only reason this event happened is because of the no-knock warrant. It's because they did not announce themselves. They showed up in plain clothes, and they had no body cameras.
And importantly, they were wrong.
Yes.
Like the dude they were looking for wasn't there.
Yeah, he hadn't lived there. Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend had been involved in drug dealing. Unambiguous fact of the case. You know what I mean? Breonna Taylor herself was not. Her new boyfriend was not. Their criminal records are clean. She was not a drug dealer, Candace Owens. That's a popular thing that she was saying back in 2020 when this was going on. But either way, she cut ties with, I think, Marcus Garland or Marcus something.
I don't remember his name either.
I don't remember her ex-boyfriend's name.
Yes.
But he was a drug dealer. The underlying principle of what happened is that authorities were alleging that he was using her address to collect packages and whatnot, or maybe there was still contact. They had one of the guys they were investigating in custody before the warrant. They didn't need to do any of this.
Just get a search warrant.
Just get a regular warrant.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure there were other facts of the case that said that the surveillance they had on her apartment was just straight up wrong too, or they lied about it, which they did. I can't fathom a world where it's not a miscarriage of justice that these civil rights violation charges were dropped.
Yeah.
there's no way that is not I'm not a fucking lawyer, but I don't know, it seems pretty clear to me.
And it also seems to me that this is the tyrannical government that the right wing is always warning us about. You know what I mean? They always make the argument that we need the Second Amendment. We cannot do firearm regulations because we need to be able to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. But suddenly, when the government is straight up violating civil rights, they don't care. And in fact, they side with the police officers oftentimes.
Insane.
Or they see this and they sort of downplay it as like, oh, that's one random one-off instance. We don't need to worry about it too much. Mm-hmm. They don't actually care. They don't actually care.
It's absurd. And I mean, hope's like not necessarily lost. Prosecutors can still carry forward with lesser misdemeanors, but I mean the felony's gone. But federal prosecutors can appeal it.
Yeah.
And hopefully get it reinstated, because I mean, all the definitions of proximate cause that I read describe it as what set off a chain of events, and there is no world where this happens without them lying about this search warrant. Like,
it literally put them in the position to do it.
Yes. Yeah. And the issue at hand here is that they lied to get the warrant. Mm-hmm. If they don't lie to get the warrant, I'm sympathetic to the idea that them getting the warrant's not what caused it. But they lied about it, allegedly.
God, just evil people.
Ridiculous,
just evil.
Just evil. Straight up evil, folks. Speaking of evil, though.
Oh, yeah.
We're the #1 geopolitics podcast. And
#1 in the world.
We don't want to neglect our duties, not for 1 week. Nope. You know what I'm saying? We got to talk about Gaza, and we got to talk about the ceasefire deals that we were talking about last week, because there was a lot of hope, right?
Oh, and, they said it is imminent.
Yeah, and I am here to tell you what the updates are.
Well, last week you were telling me that an anonymous person from the State Department said a ceasefire was imminent. It is going to happen.
That's right. And let me tell you, that shit did not happen. that shit did not happen. Here are the updates.
All right.
That's dead air, folks.
Damn.
That's dead air. That's nothing. Because we got nothing. Nothing happened. There were, and this is especially disappointed, but not surprising, because of all the talk last week about how deals are intimate. We had State Department officials leaking information that apparently it's just some uppity guy that thought that something was going on. They were talking about, we're putting in fucking implementation cells in Cairo. We're tasking people with the idea that we're going to implement all these deals and everything that we're ironing out. Joe Biden was like, yeah, Jack, we got it. We're going. I'm optimistic that things are going to happen.
Antony Blinken decided to do his job.
That's Blinken, what I thought. Doing his job. I thought this fucking lazy liberal finally got off his ass and went to work.
First time in 4 years.
I'm saying. It's fucking, oh my God, Secretary of State, fakest job in the world right now.
He needs to be fired when Kamala Harris wins.
I was just about to say, as soon as she takes office, her first action needs to be getting rid of that dumbass. Oh my God.
He's done nothing.
Getting rid of him and somehow getting rid of John Kirby too. Oh my goodness, man. But yeah, nothing happened. Such big talk last week about, guys, things are looking good. Just for it to all, not surprisingly, be brought fucking walked back.
I would have loved to have been proven wrong.
I was hoping to be proven wrong.
I would have clapped it up for Joe Biden finally getting to a point where we can say there's another ceasefire, because there was one months ago. But I would have loved to be in a position where I could say I was wrong. Joe Biden got it done. There's a 6-week ceasefire with plans to make it even longer, but
yes,
I was right.
I would love to have the fucking doomer position and then be proved wrong.
Precisely.
I'm clamoring for that, actually. I'm praying that that's going to happen. But like, every single thing that has happened for the past 10 goddamn months has just pointed the other direction. Like, it's just, nothing is happening. And the only detail that I could actually find that's at least new to me is that Israel is refusing any deal that would force the IDF to leave Gaza completely. That is one of Hamas's strong, this is what we want for a ceasefire to actually happen. Say what you will about it, that's what's going on. That's kind of one of the crossroads that they're trying to reckon right now. Netanyahu is insisting that the IDF stays in control of the Philadelphia corridor.
It reminds him of home.
That's exactly what I thought. Oh, the guy who grew up in Philadelphia over here in Philly.
Moved to Philly at 14. Come on, baby.
He wants the Philadelphia corridor. I get it, BB. I understand you, right? He's insisting that they keep that. That runs alongside Gaza's border with Egypt. And he's also insisting that they keep the Netzarim east-west corridor that runs along the Gaza territory.
Okay.
So Bibi claims that this is to prevent the rearming of Hamas. Bibi also says that it absolutely has to be the IDF that is the one that's in control of the Philadelphia corridor specifically, and he is unwilling to accept any international force in the corridor.
I wonder why. I wonder if they would be audience to any insane war crimes.
That's what I'm saying, and it's like, okay, you know what? If you have a serious goal of Hamas, bad organization, I condemn them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I understand what's going on. I understand the sociology behind it. If you've been a listener, you understand the complexities of the situation.
For almost a year we've been talking about it.
Yes,
that is sad.
Yes, but I do condemn Hamas. I would be fine with preventing the rearming of Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's no reason why an international body can't do that.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason why you can't have an say the UN.
Yeah.
Even in there, guarding the corridor, making sure that weapons aren't being smuggled in from Egypt. Mm-hmm. I could be sympathetic to the idea that weapons will be smuggled in, but what I can't be sympathetic to is the rigidness in how he is just holding that. No, it has to be the IDF that is the one doing these things.
Yeah.
Why? Why are we so stuck on the idea that you have to be the ones in this territory?
He doesn't want eyes on what his IDF guys are doing.
Literally.
Because if other people see it, it'll be even more evidence for the International Criminal Court to prosecute him.
Especially in the wake of things like the Haaretz article that we talked about last week, where they found that the IDF has been damn near, units within the IDF are using Palestinians as literal human shields to inspect booby traps.
I gotta imagine if we had UN troops from France, they'd be like, "What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on?" That was not French, but you get the idea.
Precisely, they would be exactly like that. What the fuck is going on?
Exactly,
something like that. Dumb shit. Dumb accent.
Something
what I mean? But I digress. Enemy of the show, John Kirby, was asked about this whole situation at a presser where he, surprise, gave us almost literally nothing and said that things are moving around. I don't even know why they cart this guy out to talk anymore.
Once a week.
It's just a waste of everyone's goddamn time, right? But the crumb that he did give us was after a reporter asked him if he believed Netanyahu was negotiating in good faith. He said Biden had a, quote, constructive conversation with him on Wednesday.
Nice.
That's what we got. That's the fucking crumb we got. And it was reported that Biden told Bibi that both Israel and Hamas would need a compromise.
Oh,
and that's news.
Yeah.
How is this news, people? These are adults.
Yeah.
This is not serious. Nothing about this is serious. And it's so frustrating that I have to sit here and be like, I understand why Harris can't directly call for an arms embargo on her platform if she wants to. I don't even know. I'm just holding out cope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I understand why she's doing that because there are negotiations going on. It could maybe disrupt the negotiations in like a palpable way. That one could.
Yeah.
The negotiations are happening. There's so much pretending that these people in the most powerful positions in the world are playing right now.
I saw recently, looking at the news the past few days, that Netanyahu has said that regardless of whatever deal eventually gets cemented, that Israel will reserve the right to re-engage in the war if they need to.
See, that's not it. That's not like
that's not a ceasefire.
Oh, we'll leave Gaza for a second, and then we'll just come.
But I'm gonna come back if I have to.
I'll be right back as soon as you slip up even the slightest. Yep. Like this is not none of the situation is conducive for these two parties to work it out with each other. Mm-hmm. That's not what's going on. A third party needs to step in and impose something.
Yeah, that's why we've been saying we should have had the UN step in and do something months ago. And to be fair, the UN did try, and the US didn't let it happen.
And we said no. We should have just stopped vetoing.
Yeah.
We could have abstained. We could have just not cast a vote.
And if Biden wants to help out Kamala Harris a little bit, then he would start being okay with that kind of shit.
Yeah.
At least give her an on-ramp for this crisis. Jesus.
But he is just ideologically committed.
Yeah.
To the fucking evil that is going on, and it's crazy to see. I
was listening to the Majority Report, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report on the way over here, and she said something. I think she was quoting somebody else, but she said something along the lines of, people often mythologize the U.S. and Israel in similar ways, where they'll say the U.S. is a city upon a hill that is surrounded by enemies, and they'll say this. People will say the same thing about Israel, and it's this way of creating a sort of mythology around the colonization that these two countries have done. And it sort of insulates them, at least their ideological champions, from ever having to deal with the fact that they are slaughtering innocent people.
Yeah, I don't understand. These are fucking adults.
Yes.
These are fucking adults.
Yes.
And Biden, one of the most powerful people in the goddamn world got on the phone with this guy in a small country in the Middle East that we fully
that we fund. Yeah.
We completely fund their aggression and their defense. We fund their fucking military operations. Most powerful guy in the world, Biden, got on the phone with him, and in a quote unquote constructive talk, he said, "You know, when you guys when people negotiate, you got to make compromise."
Mm-hmm.
The fuck are we doing?
Come on, man.
What the fuck are we doing?
It's a corporate meeting.
I can't take it seriously. Like,
yeah, no, Biden's been terrible, and I think he is just genuinely a Zionist. Like, he's just ideologically committed to it. Yeah,
damn,
it's bad. It's bad out here,
and that's what happened. That's the ceasefire update this week.
That's geopolitics, people.
Happen, man. Wow.
Well, it's bad out here, folks. That's bad news. DNC was all right. This is kind of a middling episode because there wasn't a ton of explicit news this week. You know what I'm saying?
No, there really wasn't. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
I did see one thing. JD Vance said, I think at like a rally, probably a Trump rally because he can't bring his own crowd. I would doubt that Trump would veto a national abortion ban. I thought that was interesting.
JD Vance said that?
Vance said that. Yeah.
I don't believe him.
I don't believe it at all. And I do think it signals that they're at least like recognizing they're on the back foot.
But don't they know that abortion is murder?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I thought abortion was murder.
I didn't look too much into it because I was like, we already got like enough for this episode at least. If anything comes of it, if it becomes big enough, we'll talk about it next week or talk about it on our the debate show or whatever. Because it's going to come up again at the debate.
For sure.
But it's like, you're just going to piss off your base.
Yeah, well, but like if abortion's murder, then you got to sign a national abortion ban.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're okay with murder.
Oh, so it's murder's chill now? Murder's chill, not word.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I like that they're on the back foot.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps us up for this episode.
Yes.
I don't think there's any more news to report on here. If you enjoyed the show, consider becoming a patron. Get early access to all of our content, especially as we're about to head into debate season part 2.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna get we're gonna get the debate between Kamala Harris and Trump about mid-September, and then October 1st, Tim Walz versus JD Vance.
Like 3 weeks.
3 weeks later. Tim Walz versus JD Vance. And there's a rumored second debate between Harris and Trump that might be coming in late October.
There's got to be 3. We got to have the trilogy.
And there's definitely going to be like town halls that maybe we can do live stream for too. And then, of course, election night live stream will be happening as well. So all very important, all happening on Tuesdays.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's important that you get in and become a Sunday.
I really want Trump to do like a ABC town hall again. I feel like an ABC town hall would be gas. I feel like an ABC one would be not a CNN town hall. They would completely field it with Republicans because they're even worse now.
We need to get the guy that did the Lauren Boebert debate.
Oh my gosh! And the Colorado moderators to actually get in there and just press them.
Yeah, it was like the Denver Times or fucking whatever network that was in Denver. Yeah.
They fucked.
Yeah,
they actually moderated the debate. They're like, no, you didn't say that. Actually, moving on. Your time's up.
Yeah,
that'd be good. That'd be really good.
We need someone that can moderate the debate that just hates both candidates.
Put me in. Put me in, coach.
I could do it.
I got this shit. Just kidding. I'm a Blue Dog Democrat until November.
I follow Sean Fain.
Yeah, I couldn't possibly criticize the Democratic candidate until November. You know what I'm saying? But shit, what up?
Anyway, end of the episode. We got to thank our most loyal followers.
Yes, our most loyal supporters.
Our friends.
People who will not be on the back foot. People who are always ready to talk about the events as the Newsweek lines up with the episode.
They're leading the charge.
They're absolutely leading the charge right here. Our Sunday Supremacist special thanks to Caden Kraut, Lord Tau the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Dylan B., Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T., Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Caleb Joy, Rich Taro Tari, Gavin Mayer Maldonado, Hunter W., Fergalaki, Max Vasquez, Jacob Rodgers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Big Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cutsford, Yook, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfish, and Bennett Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's boyfriend, Ted Cruz's boy toy, Dictator Jace, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarleson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Science, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Tailored for Contact, Corey Chambers, Ellie N, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Emma the Doot Slayer, Veronica, aka V, Raxon, Ass Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, Murder in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, In Hope of Giants, AK Gon Aquana Don.
Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Steak Daddy, Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C, Kayla Lowe, Anna Valenic, KCC, Say Yes to West, August, Particular Pikmin, Sir Capalot, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, Brennan is Egg, JR, Drew Batchilder, Froggy Gumdrop, Zen doing their best, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, Sasha, MJ Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Jared Finch, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Chris T, Kishan Lala, Amanda R, Hanky Panky, Tyler J, Damian Blues, Ashley White, Dick Cheney in 3-inch Heels, Lala Valesco, Particulon, Memfrez, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, Lauren, Uncrasmatic Boar, Sasquatch, Rhonda Stiletto, Midwest Marxist, Joe the Mailman, Gary from West Michigan, Shawnee GG, Juniper Not Jupiter, Stacked Crabs, Patrick Simpson, I Crowley, Urban Peach, Lord of Forlorn, Holt Forsyth, Dialectic Dreamer, Kevin Kasaya, Schnoodle, Booty Snakes, Erica, Krusty Krab, Do Fairy, Chelceratops, Austin Lima, Lane Waltz, Azim Fida Hussein, Brooklyn G, Noverk the Dastardly, Goldthorn, Addie Book, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon.
Yes.
If your name's not on here, but it deserves to be,
Let us know.
DM us and let us know, and we'll get your name on here. And if you're listening all the way to the end, tell us what your favorite moment at the DNC was.
Yeah.
Or maybe your least favorite. What'd you hate the most?
And all I'm going to say is, who else is reading out their Patreon list?
Not like us.
They are not like us.
Like us.
Ridiculous.